Expand your vocabulary with our Core 2000 Words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Polish ebook before it's gone.
Hi everybody, my name is Ania. Welcome to the 2000 Core Polish Words and Phrases video series. Each lesson will help you learn new words, practice and review what you've learned. Okay, let's get started. First is word number 1, bagaż. Luggage. Bagaż. Bagaż. Luggage. Bagaż na wózku bagażowym. Luggage on a luggage cart. Bagaż na wózku bagażowym. Bandaż. Bandage. Bandaż. Bandaż. Bandage. Owinąć bandażem. Wrap with bandage. Owinąć bandażem. Pacjent. Patient. Pacjent. Pacjent. Patient. Chory pacjent. Sick patient. Chory pacjent. Dział. Department. Dział. Dział. Department. Dział marketingu. Marketing department. Dział marketingu. Księgowy. Accountant. Księgowy. Księgowy. Accountant. Dyplomowany księgowy. Licensed accountant. Dyplomowany księgowy. Prawnik. Lawyer. Prawnik. Prawnik. Lawyer. Prawnik firmy. Company lawyer. Prawnik firmy. Płaca. Wage. Płaca. Płaca. Wage. Płaca minimalna. Minimum wage. Płaca minimalna. Fortepian. Piano. Fortepian. Fortepian. Piano. Ten fortepian jest bardzo drogi. That piano is very expensive. Ten fortepian jest bardzo drogi. Numer lotu. Flight number. Numer lotu. Numer lotu. Flight number. Lot numer 345. Flight number 345. Lot numer 345. Rolnictwo. Agriculture. Rolnictwo. Rolnictwo. Agriculture. Rolnictwo to ważna gałąź gospodarki w każdym kraju. Agriculture is an important industry in every country. Rolnictwo to ważna gałąź gospodarki w każdym kraju. Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. First, you will hear a word or phrase in English. Respond in Polish, then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say luggage? Bagaż. Bagaż. And how to say bandage? Bandaż. Bandaż. What about patient? Pacjent. Pacjent. Do you remember how to say department? Dział. Dział. Let's try accountant. Księgowy. Księgowy. What about lawyer? Prawnik. Prawnik. Now let's see if you remember how to say wage. Płaca. Płaca. Another one. What about piano? Fortepian. Fortepian. Do you remember how to say flight number? Numer lotu. Numer lotu. And finally, do you remember how to say agriculture? Rolnictwo. Rolnictwo. Well done. See you next time. Do widzenia.
Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
Dzień dobry, nowy lokator?
Może pani powtórzyć?
Lokator, mieszka pan tutaj?
Tak,
Nazywam się Katarzyna Kowalczyk, a pan?
nazywam się Felipe Rossi.
Miło mi pana poznać, Felipe. Skąd pan jest?
Jestem z Brazylii.
Uczy się pan tutaj?
Nie, pracuję dla firmy handlowej.
Now you'll hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Nowy,
New.
lokator,
Tenant.
powtórzyć,
To repeat.
mieszkać,
To live.
tutaj,
Here.
nazywać się,
To be called.
poznać,
To meet. To get to know.
Skąd?
Where from?
Być.
To be.
Uczyć się.
To study. To learn.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
Dzień dobry. Nowy lokator?
Może pani powtórzyć?
Lokator. Mieszka pan tutaj?
Tak,
Nazywam się Katarzyna Kowalczyk. A pan?
nazywam się Felipe Rossi.
Miło mi pana poznać, Felipe. Skąd pan jest?
Jestem z Brazylii.
Uczy się pan tutaj?
Nie, pracuję dla firmy handlowej.
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
Pracuje pan dla firmy handlowej? Ja też.
Nazywa się Good Connections. To jest bardzo duża firma.
O, ja też tam pracuję. Możesz mi mówić na ty.
Naprawdę? Katarzyna? Możesz to przeliterować?
Nie, Kasia. K-A-S-I-A.
Now you'll hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Też.
Also. To.
Bardzo.
Very. Much.
Tam.
There.
Mówić.
To speak.
Móc.
Can.
Naprawdę.
Really.
Przeliterować.
To spell.
Firma.
Company.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
Pracuje pan dla firmy handlowej? Ja też.
Nazywa się Good Connections. To jest bardzo duża firma.
O, ja też tam pracuję. Możesz mi mówić na ty.
Naprawdę? Katarzyna? Możesz to przeliterować?
Nie, Kasia. K-A-S-I-A.
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary, followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
Masz dziewczynę?
Tak, nazywa się Marta.
Szkoda. Czy twoja dziewczyna też pracuje?
Nie, studiuję matematykę.
Naprawdę? To ile ona ma lat?
23.
Młoda.
Now you'll hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Mieć.
To have.
Dziewczyna.
Girlfriend. Girl.
Szkoda.
What a pity. It's a pity.
Czy.
Question particle.
Twój.
Your. Yours.
Studiować.
To study.
Matematyka.
Mathematics.
Ile?
How much? How many?
Młody.
Young.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
Masz dziewczynę?
Tak, nazywa się Marta.
Szkoda. Czy twoja dziewczyna też pracuje?
Nie, studiuję matematykę.
Naprawdę? To ile ona ma lat?
23.
Młoda.
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary, followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
Masz jakieś hobby?
Tak, lubię bieganie.
O, ja też. I bardzo lubię pływać.
Naprawdę? Ja też.
Pływam codziennie przed pracą. Przyłączysz się?
Jasne.
Now you'll hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Jakiś.
Some. Any.
Hobby.
Hobby.
Lubić.
To like.
Bieganie.
Running.
Bardzo.
Very. Much.
Pływać.
To swim.
Przed.
Before.
Praca.
Work. Job.
Przyłączyć się.
To join.
Jasne.
Sure.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
Masz jakieś hobby?
Tak, lubię bieganie.
O, ja też. I bardzo lubię pływać.
Naprawdę? Ja też.
Pływam codziennie przed pracą. Przyłączysz się?
Jasne.
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
Witam, co dla pani?
Poproszę pierogi z kapustą i z grzybami.
A dla pana? Poproszę pierogi ruskie.
Poproszę rachunek. Czy można płacić kartą?
Niestety nie.
Felipe, masz gotówkę?
Now you'll hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Witam.
Welcome. Hello.
Poprosić.
To ask someone for something.
Pierogi z kapustą i grzybami.
Dumplings with sauerkraut and mushrooms.
Rachunek.
Check. Bill.
Móc.
Can. To be able to.
Płacić.
To pay.
Karta.
Card. Credit card.
Gotówka.
Cash.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
Witam, co dla pani?
Poproszę pierogi z kapustą i z grzybami.
A dla pana? Poproszę pierogi ruskie.
Poproszę rachunek. Czy można płacić kartą?
Niestety nie.
Felipe, masz gotówkę?
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. Are you struggling to understand conversations in your target language? This video will improve your listening skills using practice dialogues. How do you know if your language skills are improving? Our team of teachers have designed a free quiz to determine your actual learning level. So click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for you. In this lesson, you'll listen to a dialogue with the text. Second, you'll review the key vocabulary followed by the English translations. And finally, you'll review the dialogue with the text again to master what you learned. First, listen to the dialogue with the text on the screen.
Dziękuję za obiad.
Nie ma za co.
Masz czas jutro?
Jaki to dzień tygodnia?
Czwartek.
Niestety mam spotkanie w pracy.
Now you'll hear the key vocabulary, followed by the English translation.
Dziękować.
To thank.
Obiad.
Dinner.
Czas.
Time.
Jutro.
Tomorrow.
Praca.
Work. Job.
Dzień tygodnia.
Day of the week.
Spotkanie.
Meeting.
W.
In.
Czwartek.
Thursday.
Jaki?
What type? What kind? Describing masculine nouns.
Finally, let's review the dialogue again. See if you can understand more this time.
Dziękuję za obiad.
Nie ma za co.
Masz czas jutro?
Jaki to dzień tygodnia?
Czwartek.
Niestety mam spotkanie w pracy.
This is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, you improved your listening and mastered key vocabulary for everyday life conversation. Don't forget to click the link in the description to get your free assessment and unlock lessons that are right for your learning level. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
How to reach your goal for the year. The 7 long-term strategies for success. If you want to learn a language in the new year, you may be wondering what the best way to do it is and what resources you need, right? The bad news, you can have the best possible resources in the world and still fail. Because above all, it's your approach, your strategies, and mindset that will help you succeed in the long run, not the latest new shiny app that just teaches you random words and phrases. So today, you'll discover the 7 strategies for long-term success, why people fail their language New Year's resolutions, and how to apply these tips to your language learning journey in the new year. But first, if you're looking for new free language resources and downloads, here are this month's new lessons and resources. Be sure to download these now before we take them down in a few days. First, the Crush Your Goals cheat sheet. With this cheat sheet, you'll learn the basics of your target language. Basic sentence patterns, question words, must-know grammar terms, and more. Download it now for free. Second, what's your New Year's resolution? Can you say it in your target language? With this bonus phrase lesson, you'll be able to say the common goals, like read more, save money, and learn a language. Third, top 7 lessons you'll need to improve your language skills. Here, you'll get 7 lessons in one. Top 10 learning strategies, phrases to use with your teacher, ways to motivate yourself, and much more. Fourth, must-know words and phrases for the new year. Do you know how to say New Year in your target language? You will with this quick 1-minute vocab lesson. Fifth, the 7 tested ways to learn language fast. With this bonus ebook, you'll learn how to use our learning system to speak better, remember more words, and improve fast. Download it for free right now. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. Okay, let's jump into today's topic. How to reach your goal for the year. The 7 long-term strategies for success. So, what are these long-term strategies? Well, before we get into it, just keep this in mind. These tips and strategies won't be deep, profound quotes that will shake your soul and finally open your eyes. If those worked, you'd be fluent already. Most tips are very simple, but they only work when you take action. Again, results come from taking action, not listening to wise words. So the first strategy for long-term success is to keep at it. And that's because mastering a language is simply a function of time. The more you put in, the better you'll get. Obvious, right? But if you're excited to start now, in January, it'll be easy to put in some time. However, you won't feel as excited in February, March, or April. You'll start falling off. You'll no longer be taking action on this advice, and your language won't improve. So keeping at it is the key to success here, and worth repeating no matter how obvious it is. You have to keep at it. It's like Einstein said, "It's not that I'm smart, it's just that I stay with problems longer." The second strategy is try new things. You probably downloaded a free app or two to get started, and chances are you'll get bored of them within a month or two. Or you'll outgrow the basic apps that just teach you words, and that's normal. So that's why it's important to try new things, so you can keep going with your language learning. If you started with an app, try getting a textbook and a workbook. Try learning with our conversational audio and video lessons, and follow the pathway from start to finish. Or try getting a teacher, whether an in-person teacher or a Premium Plus teacher that comes with the Premium Plus plan. The point is, you'll find that some methods are easier to stick with than others, and that's the goal, to find something you can stick with long-term and keep putting that time in. The third strategy for long-term success is be flexible with your goals and expectations, which is something most people are not. Are you flexible with your goals? Leave us a comment. Most people, when they realize they won't hit a goal, take it as a brutal failure. They beat themselves up. They expected to be fluent by February. They didn't get what they expected, and they can't accept anything less. So for them, it becomes a big failure, and that's what you want to avoid doing. But the fact is, life will get in the way. You might be busy at work or school. You might get sick, or whatever other curveball life likes to throw at us, and you won't learn as fast as you'd like. So you have to be flexible about your expectations. It's okay to pause your language learning for now and come back later. It's okay to miss a goal, and it's okay to not progress as fast as you'd like. That doesn't mean you're failing at it. Some things are outside of your control. It just means you need more time. The fourth strategy is test your language skills. It's easy to tap on an app and think you're learning new words, but what if you aren't? You don't know if you're actually improving, right? So the best way to improve is to put your language skills to the test. And that can be anything from trying speaking to a native speaker to see how far you can go, or signing up for a proficiency test. Anywhere where someone else judges your language skills. Then you can quickly see where you're lacking. With our learning system, we test you regularly with multiple choice and hand-graded assessments inside your learning pathway. These assessments test you on the language you've learned in your last few lessons to make sure you're improving and retaining what you learn, instead of hearing words once and forgetting them later. You can also interact with your Premium Plus teacher, who will correct your language and help you improve faster. And if you want to improve even faster, the fifth strategy is involve other people in your learning journey. And this can be a teacher, other language learners, or native speakers. When you're around other people doing the same thing, it's much easier to stay motivated to learn the language. It's why nobody successfully works out from the comfort of their own home, and why people go to gyms. And that's exactly why we offer live group classes for languages like Japanese, Korean, Spanish, Chinese, French, Italian, German, and more to our members. The sixth strategy for long-term success is use good old habits to get back on track. Simply put, if you have a language learning habit that you can stick to, even if it doesn't give you the best results, the fact that you can stick with it, that by itself is important. So if you fall off track and are wondering how to get started again, go back to a routine that works for you. For example, our users love our free Word of the Day emails for that very reason. It's just one word a day in your target language, but it's easy to stick with, and they feel like they're making some progress, even on days they're busy. And the seventh is always set small, measurable monthly goals. Instead of huge, unrealistic goals, like I want to be fluent by July, or I just want to speak the language. These big goals are the #1 cause of failed New Year's resolutions. But if you make them smaller and more realistic, you can actually start reaching them. For example, something like, I want to learn 100 words by the end of January. 100 words is small and realistic enough. That's 3 to 4 words a day. 100 is also measurable. You'll always know how close you are to reaching it. And monthly gives you a deadline, end of the month, January 31st. Either you hit it or you don't. Other examples would be, do 30 lessons inside our learning pathway by January 31st. Speak 1 minute of your target language by January 31st. Or learn the alphabet by January 31st. What kind of small, measurable goal would you want to set? Leave a comment. So, let's recap the 7 strategies for long-term success. Keep at it, Try new things. Be flexible with your goals and expectations. Test your language skills. Involve other people in your language journey. Use good old habits to get back on track. Set small, measurable monthly goals instead of huge, unrealistic goals. So thank you for watching this episode of Monthly Review. A radically different way to break your routine and master language along the way. Does language learning feel like work for you? Do you wish it was a bit more fun and engaging? Well, first you should know that it's okay to feel that way, and that it's okay to want to have fun while learning. That's why in today's episode, you'll discover what to do when language learning starts feeling like work, how to change up your routine and make learning fun. But first, if you're looking for new, free language resources and downloads, here are this month's new lessons and resources. Be sure to download these now before we take them down in a few days. First, the Going to the Mountains Conversation Cheat Sheet. You'll learn all the must-know words and phrases for hiking and camping with this new cheat sheet. Download it for free right now. And second, if you love travel, then you'll love this. This quick lesson gives you the top 30 travel phrases that you'll need to know. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. And here are this month's updates for our language learning system. First, a brand new plans and pricing page, where you can see the breakdowns of our plan, all the learning tools that come with each plan, and the pricing, so that you can choose the one that fits you best. And second, a subscription countdown timer, so you know when your plan runs out. Just click the link in the description to check out the new pricing page. Okay, let's jump into today's topic. A radically different way to break your routine and master language along the way. Part 1. The importance of taking a break. So, does language learning feel like work at times? If you find yourself getting tired of your books, your apps, and your current routine, you should know that it's normal to feel that. So, what should you do in this case? There's a reason many cultures rest for 1 or 2 days a week, why people go on vacation, and why we take days off. And that's because people need time to recharge their batteries. And let's be honest, learning a language is work. It's dedication to one of many goals in our lives. We have other things going on: school, work, bills, relationships. So first and foremost, because language learning is work, you need to rest. And if you've taken a day, a week, or even a month off, don't feel too bad. And leave us a comment and let us know if you've ever taken a break from language learning and why. Now, sure, you could say you don't need breaks, keep on going, but sometimes life gets in the way. You get busy, or you just need rest. And it's better to take a break and reach your language goal eventually than burn out, quit, and never reach it at all. Even inside our own learning system, we often see learners come back and pick up where they left off after taking a break. But what if you want to change up your routine and learn with something that's fun instead, so it doesn't feel like all work? That's an option too. There are 2 ways you can go about this. 1, you stay within that skill, but change your resource. So if you like reading and want to keep focusing on reading, then put the textbook down and try a novel, try a comic book. Or 2, you can completely change it up. If you're focusing on grammar, jump over to speaking or passively listening to audio lessons. If you're learning Japanese, watch a drama or anime. If you're learning Korean, try K-pop or K-dramas, things like that. The big takeaway here is you break away from your routine, what you're used to, and what feels like work, and relax with something more enjoyable. So if you don't want to take time off, and if you want to keep on progressing one way or another, you can always break your routine and try something that's more fun. But now, some of you may be wondering, if you're just doing what's fun, can you really learn a language, as in watch TV and actually learn something? Well, let's get into the second part first. Part 2, how to make language progress while having fun. Yes, you can learn, but first you have to ask yourself 2 things. First, what's your goal or the reason for really learning? And second, what brings you the most amount of pleasure? And then work backward from there. Whatever your goal is, start applying some of your time to that goal right away. If your goal is to speak with a significant other, try it today, speak. If your goal is to watch TV, watch it, even if you don't understand all of it. If you like books, read a book. Now, you may think that if you're a beginner, you'll still struggle reading through native text, or struggle to understand every word in a TV show, which doesn't sound too fun. But everybody has things that they find fun that other people don't. And all methods require work on your end to make them work, even the fun ones. You're still going to need to look up words, write down phrases, and rewatch episodes if you're watching a show. You're still going to need to define words if you're reading a book. But the point is, if you enjoy one approach more so over others, you'll be much more likely to stick with it. You'll make progress as long as you put the time and work in. And you'll get to actually enjoy the learning process, which is important because learning a language is work. So thank you for watching this episode of Monthly Review. Can busy people actually learn a language? You yourself probably have an answer to this question, right? But whether you can or can't actually has a bit more to do with your mindset than anything else. And in this guide, you'll discover 1. Is it possible for busy people to learn a language and the mindset needed? 2. Mental bandwidth, the one thing that can make or break your language goals. And 3. 5 mindset tricks to make time for language. But first, if you're looking for new free language resources and downloads, here are this month's new lessons and resources. Be sure to download these now before we take them down in a few days. First, the Talking Online PDF cheat sheet. Learn the must-know internet slang and all the internet-related vocab and phrases in your target language with this PDF cheat sheet. And second, the 40 words and phrases for ordering food writing workbook. With this free resource, you'll pick up must-know words and phrases for the restaurant and practice writing them out as well. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. Can busy people actually learn a language? Part 1. Is it possible for busy people to learn a language and the mindset needed? So, can busy people actually learn a language? What do you think? Leave us a comment and let us know. As much as we want to say yes, it's more of a yes or no depending on the person. Why yes? Yes, because many of our members are busy and are learning with our system. And some of you who are watching also fall into this camp. But it also depends on the person because it's more of a mindset thing. Either you think you have time or you don't. For example, many of our members fall into the group of can learn and can find the time, even if they're busy. If you're busy and still want to learn, if you look around, you can always find 5 or 10 minutes a day, like on a commute. Now, if your mindset is the opposite, if you think you can't learn a language or you don't have time, you won't even try, even if you had a resource that was proven to work. Part 2. Mental bandwidth, the one thing that can make or break your language goals. And if you think about it, if you had all the time in the world but felt like you couldn't learn a language, you wouldn't try either. Again, this is why it comes down to the mindset and why it all depends on each individual person. Either you think you can or you think you can't. But it may not always be this black and white either. It can also depend on your mental bandwidth too. Think back to your school days, those few days before exams. It got really busy and you had to stop everything to study, right? You were probably thinking, if I can just get through studying this week and take the test, then next week I can finally start relaxing and doing other things. And if someone asked you if you wanted to hang out, you would say no, because you're busy. But chances are you still managed to spend at least 30 minutes on YouTube or social media. Meaning you did have some time, even if you were busy. But the test was occupying your mind and taking up all that bandwidth. So it's also possible that we just don't have the mental bandwidth because we're overwhelmed. And this is a genuine reason for not being able to learn when you're busy. Don't worry, in the next part, we'll show you how to get some bandwidth so that you don't feel overwhelmed. Part 3. 5 mindset tricks to make time for language. So if you've gotten this far, you understand that it is possible to start learning a language, even if you're busy, that you can find the time, but it mostly comes down to your mindset. So how can you develop the mindset? So when you're too busy, it feels like you're overwhelmed and like you don't have control of your time. Well, there are a few things you can do to gain some control of your time, have some breathing room, and learn a bit of language. First, always set small, measurable goals. This is something that we talk a lot about here. For example, learn for 10, 15, or 20 minutes every day. Learn 100 words in 1 month, which means learning 3 to 4 words a day. And the mindset behind this is just being realistic with your goals and what you can do. Because if you're busy, you may not have 1 or 2 hours. And this is a strict rule, especially when starting out with new goals and languages. Always stick to small, measurable goals. Second, lowering your goals and expectations is okay when things get super busy. If you couldn't learn all 100 words for the month and only got up to 40 or 60, that's okay. If you tried learning on Monday and Tuesday but skipped Wednesday and Thursday, that's okay. Sometimes you have to shift priorities, and prioritizing things is a secret to a successful life. You may not get to the goal you wanted to achieve today, but you can get to it next week. Third, it's okay to put language on pause if life gets in the way. Just like with that last point, you can always come back and reach your goal a little later. We often see learners put language on pause, come back later. Some even come back years later. But the key is to come back. Fourth, avoid the all-or-nothing mindset at all costs. And an all-or-nothing mindset is something you'll see in beginners and perfectionists. When you have this mindset, you'll say, language learning requires hours, so there's no point in learning for a few minutes today. But something is better than nothing, and even 5 to 10 minutes of review adds up in the grand scheme. And in the grand scheme, it's more important to be consistent, even if it's just for a minute a day, rather than study for hours once a week. The brain just doesn't work that way. Fifth, do you have a slowdown or relaxing routine that you do on the weekends or whenever you have free time? And if you didn't do it, you'd feel overwhelmed? Leave us a comment and let us know what it is. For some, it could be reading, watching TV, or going to a cafe and doing nothing for a bit. You're there on your own, you don't have much to do in front of you, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes. And if you're settled, you start feeling in control. And that's the point you have some mental bandwidth. You can start doing some time management and plan your week out. You can put in a few minutes of language learning. But if you don't slow down and if you feel overwhelmed, you could have the easiest possible way to learn a language, and you still wouldn't do it. So, back to you. If you were busy, do you think you'd be able to learn a language? Leave us a comment. How to integrate self-study and learning with a teacher, and learn faster. Since you're learning a language, are you learning on your own? Or are you also learning with a teacher? If you are, but if you're learning different things on the app and different things from your teacher, you're actually spreading yourself thin and slowing your progress. And that's because you're skipping key steps of the learning process. So today, you'll discover why learning separate things from separate sources slows you down, how combining the two helps you learn faster and hits on all the key steps of the learning process, and how to apply these tactics. But first, if you're looking for new, free language resources and downloads, here are this month's new lessons and resources. Be sure to download these now before we take them down in a few days. First, the Talking About Language PDF Conversation Cheat Sheet. This cheat sheet will teach you how to talk about languages, and phrases like, I can speak a little bit of, I've been learning for 3 years, and much more. And second, the All the Language You Need for Everyday Life Cheat Sheet Bundle, where you get all of our best conversation cheat sheets rolled up into one with this gift. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. How to integrate self-study and learning with a teacher and learn faster. Part 1. Do you combine self-study and learning with others? If you think about it, most language learners learn on their own with a few different resources, a few apps, and maybe a textbook. And then you have learners that do both self-study and learning with a tutor. But for the most part, they learn different things from different sources. Words on this app, different phrases on that app, and maybe some unrelated grammar with a tutor. Is this something you do? Because if you do, then this disconnected approach can slow your language progress down. How exactly? There's a simple formula to learning successfully. Successful learning requires 1. Acquiring new information, 2. Practicing using what you've learned, 3. Getting feedback and implementing it, and then 4. Getting assessed, someone telling you if you're on the right track or not. So if you want to learn fast, you'll want to do all of these things. Now, if you're learning alone, then you're mostly just acquiring new information. New words from this app, unrelated phrases from that app, and so on. You're just jumping from resource to resource without practicing and getting feedback on what you've learned. And you're not going to remember what you learn as well. You're missing some critical steps of the learning process, namely the practice, feedback, and assessment from a native teacher. And even if you are learning on your own and with a teacher, but there's no overlap with your self-study, you're still missing the practice for what you're doing on your own. So it's best to combine your self-study with what you're doing with a teacher, so that you learn on your own and go on to practice what you've learned with a teacher and get feedback. Now, you might be thinking, why not just learn with a teacher then, without self-study? If you're learning with a tutor or teacher, then it also becomes a question of time. You're on a limited schedule. Your teachers are on a limited schedule. Plus, you have to pay for their time too. Let's say you have 1 hour of classes a week with a native speaking teacher. How would you want to spend it? Do you want to spend that hour listening to grammar explanations and learning new words? Or do you want to use that time practicing speaking and getting feedback? If you spend that hour learning words and grammar rules, then you have to wait until the next time to practice. And that takes even more time, money, and slows down your progress. So it's better to learn and prepare ahead of time on your own, and then practice those concepts with the teacher later. But if you don't prepare ahead of time, you become like that one person you probably had in your class. They didn't come prepared, and the teacher always had to stop and explain everything to them and slow the class down. There's always one person like that. And it'd be better for the student and their progress if they prepared on their own. So the point of integrating self-study and learning with others is to make the most of your time with a teacher. Practice what you've learned on your own and get feedback as you practice. Otherwise, if you come to a teacher without preparation, they'll just spend the time explaining grammar rules or reviewing vocabulary, and it's not actually implementing what you've learned on your own, which you won't get to practice until next time, if at all. And if you're just doing self-study, then you likely won't get a chance to practice at all. But it's the practice and feedback that helps the language stick, and that's the part you can't skip. Part 2. How to integrate self-study and learning with others. So, here's what you can do. 1. Join our live group classes. We're currently offering live group classes for Japanese, English, Italian, Chinese, Korean, Spanish, French, Portuguese, German, Greek, and Thai. Our live classes provide you with lessons you can study on your own, and then you get to practice with our teachers in the live classes. 2. Find a teacher or tutor that works with the same resource that you have, whether it's our program or a textbook. Have the tutor see what you're studying so they can match. And it's important that there's overlap, that what you're learning with the tutor and on your own is the same, so you can learn on your own and practice with the teacher. 3. You can also try our Premium Plus plan if you're not quite ready for live classes. Our Premium Plus teachers are familiar with our learning program, so there's no disconnect between what you learn on your own and what you'll learn with them. And 4. Find a friend or a community that's learning with the same resource as you. That way, you can practice with them and they can step in and clear up any questions that you may have. So, do you combine self-study and learning with others, or do you plan to? Leave us a comment. Your pronunciation is terrible. Is pronunciation important or not? And this is a controversial topic for some. If you're wondering if you should aim for perfect pronunciation or not, be sure to watch this first. You'll discover how to approach pronunciation as a beginner, how to perfect your pronunciation with our program, and much more. But first, if you're looking for new free language resources and downloads, here are this month's new lessons and resources. Be sure to download these now before we take them down in a few days. First, the Talking About Age PDF Conversation Cheat Sheet. This cheat sheet will teach you how to say how old you are, ask others for their age, and learn a whole bunch of age-related words and phrases. Second, master 1,500 words with our printable visual flashcards. Just download, print them out, and review as much as you want. These PDF flashcards are yours to keep for life. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. And here are this month's updates for our language learning system. If you want to boost your vocabulary and speak more of the language, stay tuned. We're launching the second season of our Core Word series, which will teach you the 2,000 most common words and phrases. And it includes a new review section at the end that'll test you on the words you learned in the lesson. Your pronunciation is terrible. Is pronunciation important or not? Part 1. How to approach pronunciation as a beginner. So, is perfect pronunciation important? This can be a controversial topic, and the answer may depend on personal preference. Some learners prefer to get everything just right. Some learners go for good enough and may revisit pronunciation later. And some, whether they realize it or not, move on with so-so pronunciation and never look back. Where do you fit in? Leave us a comment and let us know. But is there a right answer to this question? For the most part, we all want to say, yes, it is important, and it's hard to argue otherwise. Perfect pronunciation is ideal in an ideal world, but it gets a little complicated in the real world. First, language learning takes time. Second, it's not always easy to develop a perfect accent when you're an adult. So if you're a busy adult, time is something you may not have a lot of. If you want to have perfect pronunciation or something close to it, you'll need to invest a lot more time. And even if you're not a busy adult, you still have to delay progress in speaking while you perfect your pronunciation. This may not be so fun for impatient learners who don't want to sit and drill one thing all day. So it ultimately also becomes a question of, do you want to focus on pronunciation and not really speak much of the language? Or do you want to speak a whole lot of the language with so-so pronunciation? Let us know in the comments. Which do you prefer? Now, if you have all the time in the world to practice, go for perfect pronunciation. If not, then it's up to you how you want to spend your time. But if you're a beginner and you're worried about getting everything right, it's okay to get a basic understanding of the pronunciation and move to other areas of the language. You don't have to get it all right on the first try. Remember, language is a tool we use for communication. If the tool is good enough, and if you can get your point across, that's good enough for now. You can always come back to perfect things later on. But this approach does require some confidence, because there will be times when native speakers won't immediately understand you, and you have to deal with that. Now, what if you do want to improve your pronunciation? Part 2. How you can perfect your pronunciation with our program. First, if you haven't done so already, learn the alphabet. And this tip is only for brand new beginners. Learning the alphabet sets the foundation of your pronunciation. And for this, you can download our free printable alphabet PDF worksheet to master it. Second, check out our pronunciation course in the lesson library. This course should get you good enough at the pronunciation. You'll understand how the language sounds, what the important rules are, and what the most common mistakes are so you can avoid them. If you're an absolute beginner or a beginner, we recommend you take these lessons. Third, increase your exposure to the target language. And this tip is for learners of all levels, whether you're beginner or intermediate. The more you're exposed to native speech, the more you'll get used to the pronunciation. And as you know, native speakers don't exactly sound like the slow, clean textbook examples you'd learn in most apps. You can do it with our lessons inside the recommended learning pathway, or by listening to music, podcasts, and even watching TV shows in your target language. And this is something you should be doing on a consistent basis. Fourth, use our pronunciation practice tool. You'll find it in the dialogue section of every audio lesson. With this tool, you can listen to the native speaker say a line and record yourself saying the same line, and play the two recordings side by side to see how close you get. The more you do it, the better your pronunciation will get. Fifth, work with a native teacher, because the best judge of your pronunciation will always be a native speaker. With our Premium Plus plan, you can send voice recordings to your Premium Plus teacher and get feedback and corrections. Your native teacher will instantly know where you need adjustment and help you improve. But again, don't worry if you don't get it right away. Good pronunciation comes with practice. And even if you have a not-so-perfect accent, natives will still be able to understand you. And that is good enough. Input versus output and how to learn language faster. Are you getting results from your language learning? You may be spending time on apps, watching YouTube videos, maybe even reading through a textbook, getting all this input. But what about output? Do you know what you're getting out of it? Most learners don't. Stick around. Today you'll discover 1. The other meaning of input versus output, 2. How tracking your input and output helps you learn a language faster, and 3. How to apply this tactic. But first, if you're looking for new free language resources and downloads, here are this month's new lessons and resources. Be sure to download these now before we take them down in a few days. First, the Talking About the Week PDF Conversation Cheat Sheet. Learn how to talk about your plans for the week and how to say the days of the week in the target language. Download this cheat sheet for free. Second, the Daily Conversations Infographic ebook. You'll learn over 100 conversational phrases with this new PDF ebook. And third, How to Say Hello PDF Writing Workbook. With this printable PDF, you'll pick up some common greetings and be able to practice writing them out. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. Now to today's topic. Input versus output and how to learn language faster. Part 1. Input versus output. So there are 2 ways to define input and output. First, from the language learning perspective, input is listening and reading, and output is speaking and writing. The second way to look at it is the effort you put in and the results you get. So input is the time and effort you put into learning the language, like listening to audio lessons for 5 hours a week, and 5 hours is your input, or practicing speaking phrases out loud for 10 minutes a day. And output is the return on the time you invested into the language. In other words, the results. The results could be something like mastering 30 phrases or being able to hold a 3-minute conversation as a result of your input. And that's the input and output we want to focus on today, the time put in and the results you get from the time put in. Part 2. How tracking your input and output helps you learn a language faster. If you take a look around, most learners do a ton of info with studying, right? They read textbooks, they watch videos on YouTube, they spend hours on apps, but they have no measurable results or return on their time invested. If someone told you that they've read 200 pages of a textbook, which is a lot of input, can they place a specific number on their results? Can they say, I learned 1,000 words, or I can handle 20 minutes of conversation as a result of reading 200 pages? Probably not. So most learners don't know because most learners don't measure their input or their output. However, if you knew that listening to 1 hour of audio lessons a week resulted in being able to hold a 3-minute conversation, now you know what results you're getting from your work. And this is where tracking your input and output becomes a powerful way to learn a language faster. Because you can measure your input and output, you can also now improve your results. If 1 hour of input helps you have a 3-minute conversation, you now know how to reach 6 minutes, 9 minutes, and so on. You know how to improve. Just add an hour more. Look at it in another way. You can also try to get more output while maintaining your input, 1 hour. So trying to get 7 or 8 minutes of conversation from 1 hour of study time. Now, the numbers may not always be the same because of the law of diminishing returns. But what's important to understand is that if you're putting in effort, you should always aim to get some sort of result in return. Otherwise, you're not making progress. That's why this tactic is so powerful. It almost forces you to improve and get something out of your efforts by looking for ways to beat your current numbers. But if you never knew the numbers, then you wouldn't know what your baseline was and you wouldn't know how to improve. Now, how do you apply this to your language learning? Part 3. How to apply this tactic. It's not hard. Just measure your input or the time you study. We already ask you to set small, measurable monthly goals and outline your daily routines. This should give you an idea of how much time you put in already. Plus, our learning system tracks the time you study. Just visit My Report under the Account drop-down menu. There, you'll see the number of lessons completed, flashcards reviewed, and time studied. Next, measure your results, or your output. You have to start doing output, whether it's a journal, texting your teacher, writing comments on our lessons, having conversations. You have to have that output and measure it. So if your goal is to learn 1,000 words in 1 month, but you only learned 800, then you know that with your current input, 800 is a realistic number. 1 month results in 800 words mastered. And because you know this, you can now improve by doubling your input or changing to a more efficient study method, like learning with flashcards. Simply put, measure your time input and measure your output. And again, to measure the output, you have to do the output. You'll instantly see what results you're getting for the time spent. Are you putting enough hours into your language? Do you know if you're putting in enough hours into your language? If you're not, chances are you're setting yourself up for failure. But the good news is there is a way to know how much time you should be putting in per day, per week, and per month. Because if you know these numbers and you can hit them, you're on the way to fluency. So keep watching. Today you'll discover how much time you should be putting in, 4 ways to find more time and learn the language faster, and much more. But first, if you're looking for new free language resources and downloads, here are this month's new lessons and resources. Be sure to download these now before we take them down in a few days. First, the Talking About Dates PDF Conversation Cheat Sheet. Learn how to talk about your plans on specific dates in the target language. Plus, must-know vocabulary for months, days of the month, and more. And second, the Ultimate Guide to Beginner Language ebook. Want a free way to boost your vocabulary? With this new PDF ebook, you'll master over 500 beginner words and phrases. More than enough to start speaking the language with confidence. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. Now to today's topic. Are you putting enough hours into your language? Part 1. How much time should you be putting in? When it comes to learning a language, there's only one thing that will determine your success. It's not an app, it's not a hack, and it's not on YouTube either. What is it? It's time you put into language. Language learning is a function of time. The more time you consistently put in, the better your language will get, guaranteed. Kind of what Malcolm Gladwell was hinting at with the 10,000-hour rule. But how much time should you put in? 10 hours a week, 20 minutes a day, 5 minutes, like some apps say you should? Most self-learners don't really know, and so they'll learn for a bit here, a bit there, and give up, because they don't know what they're aiming for. But having a specific number to aim for, the number of hours, can set you up for success. Kind of like if someone owes you $5, you won't rest until you get not 2, not 3, not 4, but all $5 back. Specifics matter. So how much time should you aim for? Well, there are a few ways to find out. First, the CEFR. Ever heard of it? The CEFR stands for the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, which many language schools use to assess your language. From level A1, which is absolute beginner, to A2, B1, B2, C1, and up to C2, which is proficient. And the CEFR lists out the number of hours you need to reach each level. The hours vary per language and level, but it can take anywhere between 70 and 150 hours to reach A1 for most common languages. So find out the hours you need for your language. You can find this by Googling for CEFR level hours and your language. You could also compare yourself to someone studying a language at university. Why? Again, time. Language learning is a matter of time, so you should use time as a benchmark. With a university language program, a 3-credit class is about 45 hours total of in-class time for a semester, which would be 90 hours for 2 semesters, and if you're recommended to study about 2 to 3 hours for every hour you put in, 90 times 2 is 180, add 180 to the 90, and you get 270 hours. Now, once you know the numbers, you can work backwards to see how much you need to put in per day, per week, and per month, and see if you're actually on track or not. Let's say it takes 80 hours to reach the A1 level of your target language. If you want to reach it within 2 months, 80 divided by 60 days is 1.3, so you'll need to put in about 1 hour a day. Is that too much? Then change that timeline to 3, 4, or 5 months to get a more reasonable duration, like 30 or 40 minutes a day. Find a balance that works for you. Once you know the numbers you need to hit, then it becomes a matter of how do I put more time into language learning? Part 2. 4 ways to find more time and learn the language faster. So how can you add more time? First thing you can do is learn with a teacher, whether it's with our group classes, our Premium Plus plan, or your own tutor. Why? It's easy to download an app and think you're going to use it for 30 minutes a day every day, but you won't, or else you would have been fluent by now. But it's easy to put in an extra 30 minutes or an hour if you have someone waiting on you. Having that human connection boosts your motivation and allows you to get more feedback and improve faster. Number 2, add more time to your routine. Duh, you probably thought of it yourself, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Most people think, okay, I'll just wake up an hour earlier and use that hour. But will you? Of course you will. Good luck waking up an hour earlier. The trick is to start with small, steady sessions and stick with them. Eventually, you'll start seeing results, you'll start feeling more motivated, and you'll naturally want to put more time in. Number 3, piggyback on existing routines. The reason why you'll fail at waking up an hour earlier to learn a language is because you're changing existing routines and trying to start new ones, which is very hard to do. Instead, you should piggyback on existing routines where you can fit in language learning. Piggybacking is where you add a routine that you want on top of a solid routine you already have and do. So what you can do is take our lessons while you're commuting. You can turn commute time into language time, or listen to a lesson while at the supermarket. Find a routine you do daily or every few days where you can fit in a language and start there. Number 4, adjust for a longer time frame. The other way to add more time is to extend your deadline. If you couldn't reach it in 1 month, you'll reach it in 2 months. It's just as good, it just took you a bit longer. This tactic is good for people who just don't have that much time in the day but still want to stick with their goals. Number 5, learn with proven learning methods. This doesn't add time per se, but it stops you from losing time that you'd waste by learning with methods that aren't effective. But what do we mean by proven learning tactics? For example, you can read a textbook, you can watch a YouTube video teaching you words, you can learn words on an app, but none of that will be any good if you don't also test yourself. Testing yourself helps you remember better because you're using something called active recall, a learning tactic that has been studied and shown to work. Then there's spaced repetition, which we offer with our flashcards. And spaced repetition is where you review words or a grammar point over a spaced period of time. So you'll see it on day 1, then on day 2, then on day 5, day 9, and so on. And with every repetition, your memory becomes stronger. There's also the 80-20 principle, where you focus on 20% that will give you 80% of the results. With language, instead of learning all the words in the language, you should start with the 100 core used words, then the 200 most common words, which you can do with our word lists. We offer the 2,000 most common words inside the vocabulary section of our site, and you can learn them with our flashcards. So, back to you. Are you putting in enough time? Leave a comment and let us know.
Hi everybody, my name is Anya. Welcome to the 2000 Core Polish Words and Phrases video series. Each lesson will help you learn new words, practice, and review what you've learned. Okay, let's get started. First is katar. Runny nose. Katar. Katar. Runny nose. Niemowlę ma katar. The baby has a runny nose. Niemowlę ma katar. Zawroty głowy. Dizzy. Zawroty głowy. Zawroty głowy. Dizzy. Kobieta ma zawroty głowy. The woman is dizzy. Kobieta ma zawroty głowy. Zapchany nos. Stuffy nose. Zapchany nos. Zapchany nos. Stuffy nose. Lekarstwo na zapchany nos. Medicine for a stuffy nose. Lekarstwo na zapchany nos. Siatkówka. Volleyball. Siatkówka. Siatkówka. Volleyball. Drużyny grają w siatkówkę. The teams are playing volleyball. Drużyny grają w siatkówkę. Golf. 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 Grasz w golfa? Do you golf? Grasz w golfa? Box. Boxing. Box. Box. Boxing. Mężczyzna trenuje swoje umiejętności bokserskie. The man is practicing his boxing skills. Mężczyzna trenuje swoje umiejętności bokserskie. Podróżować. Travel. Podróżować. Podróżować. Travel. Podróżować z bagażem. Travel with luggage. Podróżować z bagażem. Skończyć szkołę. Graduate. Skończyć szkołę. Skończyć szkołę. Graduate. Kiedy skończę szkołę, będę podróżował po świecie przez rok. After I graduate, I will travel the world for 1 year. Kiedy skończę szkołę, będę podróżował po świecie przez rok. Przeprowadzać się. Move. Przeprowadzać się. Przeprowadzać się. Move. Rodzina przeprowadziła się do nowego domu. The family moved to a new home. Rodzina przeprowadziła się do nowego domu. New Delhi. New Delhi. New Delhi. New Delhi. Polecę do New Delhi samolotem. I will go to New Delhi by plane. Polecę do New Delhi samolotem. Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. First, you will hear a word or phrase in English. Respond in Polish, then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say runny nose? Katar. Katar. And how to say dizzy? Zawroty głowy. Zawroty głowy. What about stuffy nose? Zapchany nos. Zapchany nos. Do you remember how to say volleyball? Siatkówka. Siatkówka. Let's try golf. golf, golf. What about boxing? Box, box. Now let's see if you remember how to say travel. Podróżować, podróżować. Another one. What about graduate? Skończyć szkołę, skończyć szkołę. Do you remember how to say move? Przeprowadzać się, przeprowadzać się. And finally, do you remember how to say New Delhi? New Delhi, New Delhi. Well done! See you next time. Do widzenia!
Expand your vocabulary with our Core 2000 Words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Polish ebook before it's gone.